The relentless beep of the heart monitor was the first sound that greeted me as my eyes fluttered open. The room was a blur of white and beeping machines, with a distant chatter of voices somewhere outside my door. I tried to move, but my body felt heavy, like it was weighed down by more than just the thin hospital sheets. "Ah, you're awake. How are you feeling, Anna?" A voice broke through the fog in my brain. I turned slightly to see a man in a white coat, his eyes kind behind round glasses. He was looking at me with something that felt like hope. "Anna?" I echoed, the name sounding foreign and distant. "Is that me?" "Yes, dear, you're Anna," he replied gently. "You've been in an accident, but you're safe here. You're 28 years old, and you're going to recover. It's just going to take some time for your memories to come back." Memories. The word echoed around the empty hall of my mind, finding no purchase. I was drawing a blank. Who was I? Did I have a family, friends, a life I loved? Panic started to set in, but the doctor's calm presence was a small comfort. Just then, a nurse bustled in, her shoes squeaking against the linoleum floor. She checked the machines with efficient movements, her eyes softening when she looked at me. "You're doing better today, hon, got a strong heart there," she said, patting my arm. I managed a weak smile, comforted by her motherly demeanor. As the day passed, I tried to piece together the fragments of the person I used to be, but it was like grabbing at smoke. The doctor, whose name tag read Dr. Ellis, came in and out, always with a reassuring word or a checkup on my progress. "Your husband will be so relieved," Dr. Ellis mentioned offhandedly during one visit. "Husband?" I choked out, the word setting off a distant alarm in my head. "Yes, Mike. He's been worried sick. He and your mother-in-law, Carol, they should be visiting soon," he explained, checking the chart at the foot of my bed. The news should have comforted me, but instead, a sense of dread unfurled in my stomach. I didn't know these people, and yet, they were apparently my family. What if they were strangers to me? What if I never remembered them? The rest of the day was a blur of nurses, meals I didn't taste, and a deep, unshakable feeling of loneliness. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the hospital around me, each beep and footstep a reminder of the life waiting for me beyond these walls, a life I couldn't remember. As night fell, and the hospital settled into a quieter rhythm, I lay awake, my mind racing with questions and fears. Who was I? Would I like the person I was? And what about Mike and Carol? Would they be strangers or the key to unlocking who I was? The uncertainty was suffocating, but as I drifted in and out of a restless sleep, a resolve began to form. I would find out who Anna was, piece by piece, memory by memory. The next morning, the sun filtered through the blinds, casting a warm glow over the sterile room. I was propped up with pillows, my head a whirl of thoughts and questions about the day ahead. That's when the door creaked open, and two people walked in, their eyes locked on me with a mix of concern and something else I couldn't quite place. The man was tall, with a nervous smile. Next to him was an older woman, her hair a soft shade of gray, and her eyes warm but cautious. They both paused at the foot of my bed, as if unsure how to start. "Anna, darling, it's me, Mike, your husband," the man said, his voice shaking slightly. The woman next to him reached out and squeezed his hand, offering a silent support. "And I'm Carol, your mother-in-law. We've been so worried about you," the older woman added, her voice gentle. I stared at them, trying to find a shred of recognition, but there was nothing. They were as familiar to me as the strangers I passed on the street. Panic fluttered in my chest, but I masked it with a nod. "Hi," I managed to croak out, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. "I don't remember you, but the doctors say that's normal." Mike came closer, his eyes brimming with something that looked like tears. "It's okay, Anna, we're here for you. Whatever you need, we'll help you remember." Carol nodded, adding, "We brought some photos and things from home, thought they might help jog your memory." They handed me a small stack of photographs, the edges worn and the colors faded. I flipped through them, seeing images of a woman who looked like me, smiling next to Mike and Carol in various settings. But no matter how hard I stared, the memories wouldn't come. As I set the photos down, Mike reached out, his hand hovering over mine. "It's a lot, I know. But we're family. We'll get through this together." I nodded, feeling overwhelmed but trying to hold on to the sliver of hope they offered. Carol pulled up a chair and started talking about the past, her words painting a picture of happy family gatherings, holidays, and shared laughter. "And remember the time we went to the lake house?" she chuckled, looking at Mike for confirmation. "You tried to fish and ended up falling in." Mike laughed along, but I couldn't share in their mirth. It was like they were talking about someone else's life, not mine. The visit stretched on, with them sharing stories and trying to coax memories from the depths of my mind. But as they talked, I couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. Their words were kind, but their eyes held a tension I couldn't understand. Finally, after what felt like hours, they stood to leave. "We'll come back tomorrow, okay? Try to rest," Mike said, squeezing my hand lightly. Carol leaned in, her perfume a faint mix of lavender and something sweet, and kissed my forehead. "You're strong, Anna. You'll remember in time." They left, and I was alone again, the photos and their words swirling around me like leaves in the wind. I lay back against the pillows, trying to piece together the puzzle of my life. But the more I thought about it, the more the edges seemed to fray and slip through my fingers. I realized then that this journey wasn't going to be easy. There would be no magical moment of clarity, no sudden flood of memories. It would be a slow, painstaking process of rebuilding, of learning who I was from the strangers who claimed to love me. The day I left the hospital, the sun was high and bright, but my stomach churned with a storm of nerves. Mike had come to fetch me, his car purring softly outside as he helped me into the passenger seat. The drive was quiet, too quiet, with only the occasional attempt at conversation. "You'll love being back home, Anna. It's where you belong," Mike said, glancing over with a forced smile. I just nodded, my gaze fixed on the passing scenery, a blur of colors and shapes that meant nothing to me. When we pulled up to the house, it was nothing like I'd imagined. It was an average suburban home, with a neatly trimmed lawn and a welcoming porch. Carol was there, standing at the door with a smile plastered on her face. "Welcome home, dear," she said as she embraced me, a bit too tightly. "I've made your favorite for lunch. I hope it helps bring something back." The inside of the house was neat and tidy, with pictures and knickknacks lining the shelves. It looked lived in, comfortable, but to me, it was as foreign as a museum exhibit. As I sat at the kitchen table, Carol bustled around, setting down a plate of food in front of me. It smelled good, but I had no idea if it was really my favorite or not. Mike sat opposite me, watching me with an intensity that made me squirm. "Go on, try it. Maybe it'll spark a memory," he urged. I took a bite, the flavor's nice, but unfamiliar. "It's good," I said, trying to sound appreciative, but my voice faltered. Carol sat down next to me, her smile unwavering. "You always loved my cooking. Don't worry, dear, it'll all come back soon." But as the days passed, that soon felt increasingly out of reach. I spent my time wandering from room to room, touching objects, and flipping through books, hoping for something, anything, to click. But it was like walking through someone else's life. Mike and Carol were constantly around, their presence suffocating. They'd whisper in corners, casting me glances when they thought I wasn't looking. Their attempts at normalcy felt strained, their laughter a bit too loud, their stories a bit too perfect. One evening, I confronted Mike about it. "Why are you both always whispering? If there's something I should know, just tell me." He looked taken aback, then composed himself quickly. "We're just worried about you, Anna. We don't want to stress you with our concerns." But the whispers continued, and the tension grew. I felt trapped in a house full of secrets, playing a role in a life I didn't remember. Each day blended into the next, a monotonous cycle of meals and forced conversations, with nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering who I was. I tried to express my frustration to Carol one day, but she just patted my hand and told me to be patient. "Your memory is a delicate thing, dear. We mustn't rush it." But I wasn't concerned about rushing my memory. I was concerned about the creeping feeling of dread that settled in my bones, the sense that something was very wrong in this seemingly perfect household. As I lay in bed that night, the house quiet around me, I realized I needed to do something. I couldn't continue living in the shadows of a life I didn't remember. I needed to find out the truth, to understand why my gut screamed warnings at me every time Mike smiled or Carol laughed. With that thought, a spark of determination lit within me. I would start digging, start questioning. I would find out what was really going on in this not-so-sweet home. And maybe, just maybe, I'd find myself along the way. The decision to get a new phone was a small step towards normalcy, or so I thought. Carol insisted on accompanying me, her concern etched into every furrow of her brow. The drive to the store was quiet, punctuated only by her occasional attempts at small talk. As we walked through the electronic store's sliding doors, the buzz of gadgets and murmured conversations felt strangely comforting. Carol hovered close, her eyes scanning the shelves as I examined the latest phones. After settling on a model that seemed user-friendly, I handed it to the salesperson. "This one, please," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Carol smiled approvingly, her hand resting lightly on my back. "Good choice, dear. Let's get this set up for you." As the salesperson busied himself with the phone, a familiar voice pierced through the hum of the store, halting me in my tracks. "Anna? Anna, is that really you?" I turned to see a woman, her face a mix of shock and relief. Do I know you?" I stammered, her name dancing just out of reach. "It's me, Lydia. From the gym, remember? We took those yoga classes together," she exclaimed, her eyes searching mine for recognition. Lydia. The name clicked into place, an anchor in the storm of forgotten memories. "Lydia, yes, I remember you." Carol's grip on my arm tightened, her smile faltering. "Anna, we really should be going. You need your rest." But Lydia was insistent. "Wait, Anna, it's been so long since I've seen you. Are you okay? I heard about the accident." I nodded, glancing at Carol's increasingly anxious face. "I'm getting there. Just trying to piece things back together." Lydia leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Be careful, Anna. There's something not right. Don't trust them, not your husband, not your mother-in-law." Her words sent a chill down my spine, a warning that resonated with an instinctual fear. "Thank you, Lydia. I'll keep that in mind." Carol was pulling me away now, her usual calm demeanor cracked with urgency. "Come now, Anna, let's get you home." After the unsettling encounter with Lydia, my mind was a whirlpool of confusion and fear. The need for answers gnawed at me, pushing me to seek out the only person who might have some, my doctor. I scheduled an appointment, the questions burning in my throat. Sitting in the sterile, quiet office, I faced Dr. Ellis, his familiar, kind eyes watching me closely. "Doctor, why can I remember Lydia, a friend, but not Mike or Carol? Why are some memories clear, but not others?" He adjusted his glasses, a sigh escaping him. It's not uncommon in cases of traumatic amnesia for the subconscious to protect itself by blocking out particularly painful or stressful memories. It's possible that your mind is shielding you from memories associated with your husband and mother-in-law because they're tied to unpleasant emotions or events. His words sent a chill down my spine. Unpleasant memories? What could be so bad that my own mind refused to remember? I thanked him, my mind set. I needed to uncover the truth, To dig into the past my mind was so desperate to keep hidden. Returning home, I went straight to my room, my heart set on a mission. My laptop sat on the desk, a gateway to the answers I sought. Surprisingly, as I opened it, my fingers danced over the keys, entering the password as if they had a mind of their own. It was a small victory, but it fueled my resolve. I started sifting through files and documents, my attention caught by a folder labeled Personal. Clicking it open, I found photos of myself, my friends, places I'd traveled to, but not a single one with Mike or Carol. How could that be? Weren't we a family? Digging deeper, I found more documents related to property ownership and bank accounts. My eyes widened as I realized the extent of my wealth. Several properties and a bank balance that read $3 million. I was rich, an heiress, and until this moment, utterly unaware. The discovery was staggering. Why hadn't Mike or Carol mentioned this? Why was there no photo evidence of our supposed happy life together? Doubts and suspicions swirled in my mind, forming a dark cloud of betrayal and deceit. Sitting back, I felt overwhelmed, the weight of my findings pressing down on me. I needed time to process this information, to plan my next steps. But one thing was clear, I couldn't confront them yet, not when I was still piecing together the reality of my life. The night stretched on as I lay in bed, the documents and photos spread out around me, a silent testimony to a life of luxury and lies. My inheritance, my history, all hidden from me, but no longer. I was going to get to the bottom of this, to reclaim my life and my identity. And as the first light of dawn crept into the room, a new day began, bringing with it a renewed sense of purpose and determination. I was Anna, a rich heiress, a woman with a past shrouded in mystery and darkness. But I was also a woman on a quest for truth, and nothing was going to stop me. With every click and scroll through my laptop, the shadows of my past life began to loom larger and more ominous. My heart pounded as I stumbled upon a hidden folder, cleverly concealed within layers of digital clutter. It was labeled simply, Diary. Hesitantly, I opened the folder, revealing an electronic diary that chronicled a history of emotional turbulence and despair. The entries were in my handwriting, or rather, my typing, detailed accounts of bullying and manipulation at the hands of the two people who were supposed to love and protect me, Mike and Carol. My eyes welled up as I read my own words describing incidents of cruelty, moments of fear, and desperate pleas for help that I had no memory of writing. July 10th, Mike threw a plate of spaghetti at me, which was too cold. August 17th, Carol called me a freeloader, a parasite who doesn't belong in their house. The weight of realization was crushing. How could I have lived through this and not remember? How could they look me in the eyes and pretend to care? My mind raced with questions, but I knew I needed to keep going, to uncover the full extent of the betrayal. I closed the diary, my hands trembling, and opened my email. There, among the spam and mundane messages, was an unread email from a private detective. My breath hitched as I read his words, filled with concern over my prolonged silence. He detailed his surveillance of Mike and attached damning evidence of infidelity, photos of my husband with another woman, their intimacy undeniable. But that wasn't all. The detective had also recorded conversations, audio clips that now played through my laptop speakers. Mike's voice, cold and calculating, discussed plans with Carol to secure my inheritance for themselves. The treachery was laid bare, each word like a knife twisting in my heart. I sat back, the laptop forgotten on the desk, as the reality of my situation crashed over me. The people I lived with, who I was supposed to trust, had been plotting against me, using me for their gain. The life I couldn't remember was one filled with lies and deceit. But amidst the chaos of my emotions, a fierce determination took root. I wouldn't be their victim any longer. Armed with the truth and evidence of their betrayal, I knew what I had to do. It was time to confront them, to take back control of my life and my future. My mind made up, I gathered the evidence, the diary entries, the photos, the recordings, and headed toward the living room, where Mike and Carol were chatting casually, unaware of the storm about to break. We need to talk, I said, my voice a calm I didn't feel. Mike looked up, a flicker of worry crossing his face. What's wrong, Anna? I slammed the evidence onto the table, the sound echoing like a shot. This is what's wrong. I know everything, the affairs, the plans, all of it. The color drained from their faces. Mike sputtered, Anna, please, let's just talk about this. No more talking, I snapped, cutting through his weak protest. I've listened enough. It's time you both heard me. Carol's hand shook as she reached out, her usual composed demeanor shattered. Anna, darling, we can explain. I recoiled from her touch. Explain? Explain why you pretended to care? Why you plotted behind my back? No, there's nothing you can say to make this right. The room was thick with tension, a tangible force that seemed to press down on us all. Mike tried again, his voice desperate. We were desperate, Anna. The debts, the pressure, we thought we had no other choice. But you did have a choice, I countered, my voice rising with every word. You chose to lie, to cheat, to hurt me. And now you're going to face the consequences. I watched as they struggled to find words, their mouths opening and closing with no sound. The realization of their situation was finally dawning on them, the understanding that they had lost everything they had tried so desperately to steal. I'm leaving, I announced, the finality of the statement hanging in the air. I'm taking back my life, my inheritance. And you will not get a cent of it. Mike's face crumpled, the reality of his situation finally hitting home. Anna, please, I'm sorry. We never meant for it to go this far. Carol was crying now, her sobs a bitter soundtrack to their downfall. Please, Anna, we're family. But their words were too little, too late. I turned away, leaving them in the kitchen, their world crumbling around them. I spent the next few days with lawyers, ensuring that my assets were secure and that Mike and Carol would never be able to hurt me again. The process was draining, but with each signature, I felt a piece of myself returning, the strength and determination that had been buried for so long. Finally, it was done. I stood outside the lawyer's office, the sun warm on my face, a free woman. I had confronted my past, faced my tormentors, and emerged victorious. The road ahead was mine to shape, a path of my own making. The divorce was as messy as one might expect, with Mike grasping at straws, trying to claim a piece of my inheritance. His desperation was evident, a stark contrast to the confident man I once thought I knew. I sat there, my lawyer by my side, as the judge went through the evidence, the photos, the recorded conversations, the diary entries. The weight of the truth was undeniable, and Mike's face fell as each piece was laid out before the court. In the end, the judge's decision was clear. Not only was the divorce granted, but Mike was also denied any claim to my assets. The court went further, ordering him to pay compensation for the emotional trauma, the betrayal, and the violence I had endured. Carol, with her part in the deceit, faced her own set of legal troubles, her facade of kindness and concern long shattered. As I walked out of the courtroom, the final gavel echoing in my ears, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Mike and Carol were left to drown in their debts, their house taken by the bank, their lives a reflection of the ruin they had tried to impose on me. Now, I was truly free, not just from them but from the fear and doubt that had clouded my life. The inheritance from my grandmother, a sum total of several properties and $3 million, was solely mine. It was more than just wealth, it was a symbol of a new life, of possibilities and dreams waiting to be realized. My memory, too, began to return in fragments, each piece a bittersweet reminder of the past and a beacon for the future. I remembered laughter and love, pain and betrayal, but most importantly, I remembered who I was before it all. And with each memory, I grew stronger, more determined to build a life that was truly my own.